session on event running. You know, every event is different. Oh, thank you, Kim. This session obviously is being recorded as well. Did forget to say that. So, you know, we can watch this later. And for people who weren't here, obviously that's, yeah, really important. So running events, every event is different. And even if you run the same event every year, it is not always smooth sailing, but I'm certain that it is worth it. So hopefully I'll be able to give you some tips on how I run events and how the successes that I've learnt, and hopefully you guys will be able to take them back to your club. So a little bit about me. I am the current and incoming Rotaract Australia Communications Director. So all of the social media stuff that you see being put out by RA was created by me. I'm also the District Rotaract Representative for 9650, which is on the mid-north coast and higher of New South Wales. And I'll be about to start my 3rd year of that. I was also a committee member for the Australian Rotaract Conference that was held in Adelaide. And I also sat on the conference committee for the Gold Coast as well. At a club level, I have been my club's communications director for the last couple of years. And that's been a really great insight into meeting lots of different people. And I guess as the communications director, it gave me a really good grounding into the promotion of events. And then that very much made me get really excited about, you know, being involved in the making of events as well. Outside my Rotary world, but still in the community volunteering space, I have been on a youth summit committee. We have 450 young people each year come to Port Macquarie, and for 3 days of inspirational speakers, we have a budget of around $250,000 every year. Last year we had Dr. Carl come and speak to us. We've had Jessica Watson, the sailor, footballers, you know, lots of different sports stars, Olympians. So that's been a really great experience for me, working at a very big level in terms of event coordination. And I have also been on the Port Macquarie Hastings Sports Awards Committee for the last couple of years. So that's a regional event that's held, but it's a 12-month commitment to get a single breakfast up and running. And it was a really great opportunity to interact with a lot of Rotarians. And it was a really great way to get some mentoring in this area. And it really taught me a lot about project management. So hopefully I am a little bit equipped to helping you guys through today. And obviously, yeah, please put in questions in the chat for Kim. So first up, I guess, if you want to run an event, why do you want to run an event? What's the purpose of the event? Is it to make money? Is it to raise awareness about a cause? Do you purely simply want members? Or is it to get the members that you currently have to have a really great social experience? Likewise, are you participating or running an event in the community for a different reason? It's really important to be aware of the purpose of the event, because, you know, if you don't have a purpose at the beginning, you don't really know where you're going to get to at the end, and it's going to be a little bit harder to maintain productivity and to maintain all of your volunteers the whole way through if there's not really, you know, something that you're striving towards at the end. Then you've decided that you want to have an event, you want to raise money for polio, you want to, you know, raise money for cancer, you want to gain members, you know, your town might be holding an event and you want to be part of it. So that's fine. So you've got your purpose. And then what kind of event are you going to run? Because organising a gala dinner is very, very different to organising a Bunnings barbecue, which is different to a trivia or a membership drive. So really deciding on what you guys want as the event is just as crucial as, you know, what's the purpose of the event. Whether it's a fundraising thing, and a Bunnings barbecue is a really great way of making $1,000 in an afternoon or a day. That's true, but I know some clubs who raise 10-20 grand at a gala dinner in a night, and that's a long sustained project, but again, it's an event that is the accumulation of a lot of hard work. So being really clear on what kind of event, and what works in your area and what doesn't. If you don't have a Bunnings near you, you obviously can't do a Bunnings barbecue. Likewise, if there's 15 volunteer organizations and they all do a raffle at the same time, you're not going to want to do a raffle because you're not going to get a lot out of it. So yeah, really picking what kind of event, the purpose, and what time. So the things you need to have before you embark on this journey: you need to have an idea. Usually one person or a couple of people are sitting around a table, or they're out somewhere and they start having a chat, picking the problems of the world apart, and someone says to someone else, "Hey, I've got this idea, I think we should do this." So you start with an idea. Hopefully the person you're confiding in says, "Yes, I'm there with you. What can we do?" And you start to come up with a little bit of a plan. I think this is probably the most accurate way that new events get started. I know personally, I think every event that I have project managed has started with a conversation with someone saying, "Oh, wouldn't it be great if we could do this?" Or "Wouldn't it be cool if this could happen?" And it's really the grassroots stuff that you find your why, your cause, the reason you want to get up in the morning to do this. And then it's about you as the lead, or the partnership as the lead, really then selling it to your members, your club, and the wider community. Starting out, so you've got this idea, you've got, yep, I've got some notes on the back of my piece of paper. Potentially you've spoken to a close mentor or a friend, just working out, would this be potentially okay to do? Obviously if there's ethical reasons or, things like that, at this point, you can start to think about those kinds of things. Maybe it would be better if we held it in this time of the year. Really just trying to get a good grounding before you then extrapolate that out to, potentially the board or potentially your club. So you've taken this idea, you've got this idea, it's really strong, and you are taking it to your club or your board. They say, "Yep, okay, that sounds cool. Go forth and get excited." So the first steps would be to appoint a committee or a group of people. I think sometimes committee can be a little bit of a scary word. You put out to your club, "Hey, I'm going to start a committee to organise changeover." Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. That's too much. But really, a committee is just a group of people who are working together. And, I think having a really strong committee or a really strong team, and whether that's, 2 people to organise a changeover, or, 15, 20 people to organise the Australian Rotaract Conference, depending on how big the event is, you obviously need more people, but, it really is about deciding how you're going to, go forward. So making a budget, this is the point where you say, okay, how much money do I have to start with? Do I need to get some money? How am I going to get some money? And really working, potentially with the treasurer or, a finance person to work out a budget, and then start creating the hype around it. Because, even in the early days, you want people to want to get excited about this. And I think really at the beginning, you do also need to start thinking about sponsors, prizes, and any assistance that you might need. This is a really great opportunity to potentially collaborate with people, whether that's Rotary clubs, other Rotaract clubs, or other clubs in the, other organisations or people in your community. So through the presentation, I'm going to be, using a case study. So with my club, we had a family fun day back in January. It was the first time our club had ever done something like this, and it really was an opportunity like no other, insofar as lots of things fell into place and we had a really great team that overcame a few challenges. So so I'm going to be talking to you guys about that as well. So as the district Rotaract representative, I was sitting in a district meeting and the Rotary people in there were saying, yep, we've got this money, we want to give it to Rotary clubs. They want to, clubs that want to have people and community building events. Cool. That's, if you think back to November last year, most of the country was on fire, which was not a really great place to be in. And a lot of the country was also in drought. So in my district, those two things were, all encompassing. And it was an opportunity for the district and clubs to sort of bring people together after what had been a really traumatic time for people. So I was sitting there and I said, hey, this thing called Rotaract that I keep banging on about, I think maybe you should open the grants up to us as well. And they all sat there a little bit deadpanned and said, you sure? And I said, yep. There's so many great things that Rotaract are doing. Please, we need some, if we come to you with a proposal, we should be judged as any Rotary club was going to be judged. We had to fill out the criteria. And they said, yep, sure. Okay, you can, if you want to put in an application. And so I said, yep, I've got an idea. So the first thing I did was ring my best friend, Sally, and said, I've got this crazy idea. We've got 48 hours to work it out before we take it to our club. So that was on the Saturday, and we had our club meeting on the Tuesday. We decided that the grants were for up to $5,000. The information had gone out to the district on the Sunday, so it was, it wasn't confidential information. It was, widely available. And I said, all right, we're going to apply for $5,000. We're going to have a free event, and we're going to invite the entire community. We're going to have old-fashioned games. We're going to have running races. We're going to have football games. We're going to have jumping castles. We're going to have all the free food in the world. And it's just going to be, the idea was that people who turned up did not need to pay for anything, because it had been such a shitty time and a lot of families were struggling. And we thought, well, to us, we kept saying it was free money, which was not necessarily the case, but it was really the point that we were having this free event because we wanted to bring the community together. We decided to have it in a community just outside of Port Macquarie. So it was not where traditionally events are held. So although that potentially cut down on how many people would turn up, it would also be a real signifier for those smaller communities that Rotaract was, still part of their community and was really focusing on, the whole region rather than just on a specific town. So we had this plan. Sally and I took it to the board. We had, due to the fact that it was now in December, there was a week that we had a week to put in the grant application. And really the whole event at this point was focused on the grant. So we had to find a day and time that didn't clash. We had, the grants and the sponsorship was obviously going to be the Rotary District. Insurance is always an issue. And particularly as as a club, we didn't have any infrastructure or equipment. So, that was going to be an issue. And we really wanted, because this was a free event, we really wanted to keep our costs low. So negotiating prices is always a good thing to do, and particularly when you say community event, particularly when you drop Rotary or Rotaract, there's a lot of businesses who will bend over backwards for you. And that's a really good opportunity to potentially work with sponsor clubs or, local Rotary clubs, because they have connections, you guys have connections. And when it's for the benefit of the community, you'd be really surprised at how many businesses and organisations are willing to help you. The other thing, with my comms hat on, always have a media strategy. Whether that's creating the poster or whether that's creating the Facebook event, you really do need to work out a plan on how you're going to sell the event, because at the end of the day, it's not up to the project lead to get that message out there. It's a whole project approach, and whether you then appoint a media person or a comms person as part of the team is up to the committee, but you really do need to have a direction and cover all your bases in a media landscape. From there, I'm not saying that you should know how to run an event, and lots of people don't know, and that's absolutely fine. You go to school, you go to uni, you may attend events, but you don't necessarily plan them. So seek out people who have done what you want to do, whether that's a gala dinner, go and have a chat to someone in your Rotary clubs, or, if you've got someone in your Rotaract club or a friend or a colleague in your workplace who is great at running events, absolutely go and talk to them, pick their brains. The best thing I ever did was get onto a Rotary committee. They wanted me for comms help, which, that's my job, so that was fine. But in return, I had a backstage pass to every part of the event planning operation. And that was so valuable because, they thought of things like insurance, and they thought of things, like what happens if your vendor pulls out and things like that, you don't necessarily think of. And watching as part of the committee, but not necessarily taking the lead, meant that when it was time for me to step up, it was not a scary or foreign thing to do. Yes, I hadn't actually done it, but I had certainly listened to people and been a part of conversations when that was the case. So certainly ask mentors for help. Again, they might not know the answers, but I can pretty much guarantee they know someone who will. And that's, again, the benefit of being in the Rotary family. You might be doing a totally new project, and whether that's locally or internationally, you won't have done it before. Even people might not have done it before, but someone out there has. And, just think, if someone approached you about your specialist area, I'm sure you would be very willing to help, offer advice, give them some tips. And, we're joined in this Rotary family because we're like-minded individuals, and I think that's such a real benefit. Again, pick up the phone, regularly meet your team, trust your team, and always go through a quick run through before and after. Whether that's at the event, or whether that's on a Zoom call, like the training team did last night and yesterday. Touching base just before the event is also so crucial, so that you get all the last minute things come up, but also the, oh my God, I'm freaking out, this is going to be a total disaster, why did I do this with my life? Everyone's doing it, everyone's done it. The committee that ran this day did it last night, and so far so good, fingers crossed. A shared problem or a shared worry is definitely halved. So going back to my family fun day, we had a clear purpose. I had 3 people in my team. I had Sally, I had myself, and I had our secretary of our club, Jack, and we have worked together a lot. We'd never run a family fun day, but we knew our team, we knew where we wanted to go, and we had a clear direction. What we didn't see was Jack is a teacher, so reports, end of year, worst time of the year for him. He looked at me and said, "You've got to be absolutely flippin' joking if you think I'm going to help you in the next 3 weeks." Yep, cool. My bad. Sally said, "Yep, I'm on board. What do you need?" So we started working, got to Christmas, and I said, "Hey guys, I'm going on holidays for 3 weeks. I'm getting back the week of the event. My bad." And so Jack said, "I can do that now. I can take over. I can, lead while you're gone." And it was really relying on the team that got us through. So in this instance, I had set it up really well. I knew exactly what we were doing. We had organized a lot of it. Then Jack could take over because his life was less hectic and mine was getting more hectic. And then we came back together. Obviously, that's not ideal in every situation. And I certainly wouldn't advise going on holidays in the lead up to your event or function, because that was a bit of a mind fizzle. But I knew that I could do that because I had a really great team behind me and planning. We had planned it. We were still talking all the time, and we really connected with other groups who knew me, who knew the team, and who knew the area, so that we were all working to a really clear and common goal. Use your connections. Absolutely. If there's one thing that you get out of the Rotary family, it's, you don't know anything about finance, guarantee someone in your Rotary club will be a financial person. Don't know anything about the law, guarantee there'll be a lawyer in the club. You don't know anything about comms, pretty sure there'll be someone who's an expert. So use those connections. And, Rotary clubs use us all the time. They use us for manpower. They use us for, setting up, packing up, numbers, whatever the case may be. So when you guys are, getting ready to run an event, absolutely use them. And, that's not a rude or a mean thing to say. It's, using your connections, because it's, going to make the outcome better. And, if Rotarians didn't believe in us, they wouldn't ask us for help to begin with. So, there's already, they already, have that connection to us. So, absolutely use it in the best possible way. Ask for help. No one's perfect. God knows, we've all got lots to learn. We can be experts in our own field, but we're not experts at everything. And, that's okay. And that's what learning and growing is. And that's what, that's why Rotaract has such an emphasis on personal and professional development, because, we want to get better. We want to be better. And to do that, we need to ask for help. One of the things that worked really well for the Family Fun Day was, because it was free, we partnered with our local media. We got an extraordinary deal. We had 17 half-page adverts in all of the local papers in the 3 weeks before the event. We connected with radio. So radio was putting out our event, a few times a day in the lead up. And, as a, to say thank you for that, because we did pay a little bit, because we had we budgeted for it in the grant, but they certainly went above and beyond. So we, on our flyers, we actually had the logos on there, and, we were really open with the fact that we were partnering with the local media, and we also partnered with some local groups. So for the Family Fun Day, I rang one of the show societies and said, "Hey, I've got this idea. We're going to bring a few hundred people to your showgrounds. I don't want to pay for the venue. I want the whole venue, and I want you to provide all the equipment. What do you think?" And they said, "Yeah, absolutely. When are you going to do it? Can we do it next week?" And that was a really great opportunity, because particularly in smaller communities, the fact that someone wants to, highlight or use one of the town's resources was a really big win for them. And, they could then share that through all of their channels and say, hey, we're so great, we're helping a community group do this really great thing for the community. And we obviously got a free venue, which would have been thousands of dollars, along with free fridges and barbecues and all of that stuff that you would potentially find at a showgrounds. We got all of that for free because we decided that we were going to have our event there that's a little bit out of the way, but really signified to that community that this group of young people who, in a potentially a town that is not very young, that there is, life, and people do believe in it. So that was a really great opportunity. And then we, taking those few steps, we now have really great connections in that community. Extrapolating that out to potentially a gala dinner, you ring up, a really big convention center or something like that and say, hey, we're going to have so many people wanting to come to our event. What kind of deal can you do? You drop the name Rotary. If you know of Rotarians that have an inn, we've done that as well. One of our Rotarian mentors is a life member of the biggest venue in town. And, obviously we want to do it above board. We're not doing anything illegal and you absolutely shouldn't. But using those connections is a great thing to do to get a really positive outcome. On the day, this was probably one of the most triggering slides that I made. On the day, there will inevitably be things that crop up, and sometimes it feels like the wheels are falling off the ship, the project, the problem, and it can be awful. If you are in a really bad situation, it'll feel like the world is crumbling down around you. Unforeseen problems will come up. That's a part of life. The closer you get to an event, the more stressful it is, the more you feel like that's the only thing you're concentrating on. I was speaking to one of my Rotaract friends, and they said, if you don't cry before an event, it didn't happen. I would hope that's not the case. However, it goes back to having that plan and trusting your team. I think a good skill is that you need to overestimate how much help you need, because in my experience, there is always last minute things that crop up and you're always, scrambling for that one extra person to do that one little job, to just get everything done. Again, with my comms hat on, take photos. The last thing that should be happening is you get to the end of the day, the end of the night, the end of the event, and there's 2 blurry photos that don't show anything that happened. That is honestly one of the most terrible things that can happen, because it means you've got no proof of what happened, you can't celebrate afterwards, and it doesn't give you any credibility. You could have spent months, or potentially even a year organizing an event to have a handful of blurry, crappy photos or videos or whatever, and all that hard work you can't show after the fact. So definitely designate people to tasks, and at least 2 of those people should be taking photos. I think I've sent 3 or 4 messages an hour to the team running today to say, take photos, because you really want to show and you really want to document the really great work you're doing. And that's not limited to the event itself. If you're having planning sessions or you're going to the venue to check it out, take photos, build the hype. This is the most exciting, the journey and the lead up to an event is just as exciting as the event itself. You want it to be a must be at event. And to do that, you give little sneak peek inside looks at the preparation process. And then people, keep saying, oh, yes, I need to buy a ticket to that, or yes, I want to be there, or I need to block out time for that. And at the end of the day, have fun. You know, you're all volunteers. No one's getting paid here. You know, you wouldn't do it if you didn't believe in the cause. So you need to have fun. And if you're not having fun, you need to work out why. If you do need to have a little, you know, sneaky cry, then that's okay. But come back and, you know, be as happy and excited, you know, the next day. And, you know, that's not to say there won't be stress, but, you know, you still need to have fun. So coming back to the case study, we had planned a family fun day. Living in Port Macquarie, we had fires for the last 7 months. It had not rained at all. We were, you know, very much in drought, as was the rest of the country. You know, we had, we'll have, you know, 4 or 5 shades go up, you know, but we'll be out on the oval. It'll be really great. We had all of these games. Everything was set up, and as the week went on to the Saturday, the rain, the Bureau of Meteorology said rain was coming, and I remember thinking, well, the Bureau of Meteorology has said it's going to rain every day for the last 6 months and it hasn't. Like, there's no chance of rain. And we were joking that, you know, God forbid that it did rain, that we would all be so excited because it hadn't rained for literally months that it wouldn't matter. So the day of, or the day before, we did the run through. We set everything up. We had some problems. The showground had accidentally booked out half of the showground, which was not in the plan, but we made our work around that. And, you know, we were just praying to the rain gods to stay away for a little bit longer. The event was supposed to start at 10 o'clock. We set up, we got there, it was all great. At 5 to 10, it started raining, and it didn't stop until about 6 p.m. that night. Now, I love rain, I love the cold, but when you're planning an outdoor event, pouring rain, and I'm talking like shin deep rain, was not really on the cards. We could have all been very depressed. We could have all cancelled it. But we were so excited for the rain. We desperately needed rain. We needed to rain, obviously, for the farmers and the drought, but we desperately needed rain for the fires. Every direction that you looked around town, there was smoke, and there had been smoke for months. So, you know, we were crying very happy tears that there was rain. And so instead of running races, we had jumping in muddy puddle races. We had a contraption that you would sit under and throw a ball and a water balloon would burst. That was the highlight of the day, because in the pouring rain, you were already wet, so it didn't matter. It was the anticipation of whether you were going to get more wet or not. And it very quickly turned into a very family fun day for a very different reason. You know, we had expected, you know, up to 500 people to come. That obviously was about halved, if then even less than that. But instead of having one sausage, everyone had 5. Again, not the plan, but we adapted, and the photos that we took that day, people had the biggest smile on their face. They were ecstatic that A, we didn't cancel, B, they could be somewhere and celebrate together the rain as a community. And if you think back to, you know, the reason we did this, it was because we wanted to bring the community together after bushfires and drought. And, you know, I'm no farmer, but if you talk to farmers, the one thing that will stop a drought is rain. So the fact that it was absolutely pouring was such a wonderful thing. And for us, it was, you know, obviously inconvenient. We did not anticipate that. We did not want the rain. But really, it wasn't about the rain, or it wasn't about whether we could have running races or, you know, Red Rover or whatever. It was the fact that we came together and we could see there was light at the end of the tunnel, literally because it was pouring, but also because we had come out of it together. ARC in Adelaide, the night before, one of the presenters, the main keynote presenters, got sick. Now, I don't know if you can think about having Rotoactors flying in from all over the country to listen to a really great speaker and then for them to be sick. So not only did we need to scramble and find an equally as good presenter, but then all the messaging had to change. And I don't know if any of you guys went to ARC in Adelaide, but on that Friday, there were massive storms on the East Coast. So lots of people, including me, couldn't get to Adelaide. There was lots of Rotoactors stranded at Sydney Airport. And as a member of the organising committee, I remember standing in a line for literally hours at the Qantas desk trying to get a flight out the next day, whilst trying to do my job on the committee. That was not in the plan. I arrived in Adelaide at 9:30 the next morning, and the conference started at 10. So I literally ran in, missing setup, but so ready to be a part of it. So things happen. I think there's a trend. I'm not 100% sure, but in Adelaide, our photo booth at the dinner messed up and was not going to arrive, which I think also happened in Brisbane a few years before. But you make it work. You have to trust your team and you have to be on the ball, and you just roll with it. And again, have fun, because at the end of the day, we're all volunteers. You all have to laugh about it afterwards. I still freak out now when I get on a plane thinking about am I going to get to the other end? That plane ride was probably one of the most traumatic plane rides I've ever had. But the work that we had all put in as a team meant that even if I wasn't there, the show would go on, and it did. And then I got there and it was great. And it was because we had a really, really great team backing each other up. Afterwards, you just want to collapse in a heap, I'm sure. I'm pretty sure tonight there'll be a few committee members who are in bed immediately after the last presentation this afternoon. But celebrate. You did it. After all the hard work, all the problems, it was as good as it could be. Once you've gotten over the celebrations, the release of emotions that it's over, really sit down with the team and talk about what worked and what didn't, because hopefully you guys will run another event, and even if it's a Bunnings barbecue, and the making sure you had the right amount of sausages and onion, that is not necessarily applicable to a family fun day or a gala dinner, but how you came about that and how you overcame those problems can be adapted to whatever event you guys are running. So having that feedback and sitting down with the team, and then also with your club about what worked and what didn't, is really important, because best learnings and best practice is something that we should all be striving for. And so that's a really big part of everything. And then plan your next event. Once you do one, you don't go back. You probably, depending on how big the event is, you might want a couple of months off. But the thing that I have learned is that you want to do it again. That high of being able to achieve something, and usually an event is something that other people come to. So seeing that people really believed in your idea, and thinking way back to that let's do that moment, and reflecting on that and all the things that you've accomplished is such an extraordinary thing, that plan your next one, do it all over again. Because it's a great opportunity, and it's a great feeling knowing that you've achieved something really special. So the key take-home messages: have a clear goal on what you want to achieve, problems arise, accept that, accept it and adapt. Share the journey during and after. Social media is perfect for that. Everyone's got a phone. Take a photo, take a little boomerang video, post it, tag people, share it, and build that hype. Have a schedule and a plan, because if you know what you're working towards, it's a lot easier. And have fun, because at the end of the day, we're all volunteers and that's what we should be doing. So is there any questions? I haven't noticed any pop up, but I'm happy to have a chat, and feel free to absolutely get in touch with me. I love emails, and also feel free to private message the RA Facebook page or Instagram page, because I answer all of those as well. So I'll get out of there and I'll come back. And yeah, does anyone have any questions?
I think Claire's just popped one in the chat, Laura.
Oh, yep. What is the most important aspect of planning an event? I think having a really clear idea of what you want to achieve. You can have, a really great idea. You want to hold a dinner, but without having a purpose, it's going to get lost. And, if everyone's not on board with that purpose, you're going to lose team members and it's just going to get really messy. And I think very quickly, there'll be one or two people left trying to hold up this event that no one then has any input or desire to see through. So I think that's probably the most important aspect. What techniques do you use to manage and increase morale in a committee, especially for bigger events, which can cause burnout? I think that's a really great question, Blake, so thank you. It's really hard. I think for something like a national conference, really being upfront about the time commitments that each of the members have would be really important, and acknowledging that may change over time. I think, if you're meeting regularly as a team, being really open and honest about that. Obviously no one expected coronavirus to happen. And, because of that, some people got a lot busier and some people, were out of work. And that really changed the dynamic in the club, or, potentially in planning an event, because some people got rapidly busy whilst others came to a grinding halt. And I think being really open about that is really important. I think increasing morale for bigger events, taking the time to go back to the point. Why are you doing it? Is it still relevant? Do you need to change something? It's really hard to stay motivated long term, particularly for an event that potentially takes a year. Again, having that plan, what needs to happen this month, what needs to happen next month, what can wait, so that you can really then get a better sense of where people, their time commitments and what they can achieve in a certain amount of time. Just because it can be, really frustrating and really hard on the project lead if everyone drops off. But having those really open communications, and if it's all sort of documented, if you're using, Slack or Asana or Mondays.com or, Google Drive, whatever the case may be, if other people need to come in to the event partway through, they've got all of the information there so that they can, new people can go back and look at what has been done, is really important. Burnout's going to happen. And I think acknowledging that and accepting that is also part of the bigger issue, because we're not all superheroes, and things do crop up. So hopefully being open and honest about that is beneficial. How many events should you have a year? I think that is a little bit subjective. I would probably go for no more than 2 major events a year, depending on your club. I know some Rotary clubs have 60 or 70 members and just do 2 major events a year. I think an event shouldn't be confused with a social activity. Going bowling as a group is not an event in terms of there's not a lot of planning to it. You guys could go bowling once a month and that's fine. I wouldn't go any more than 2 major events. And that would be, again, if you've got a really dedicated team and a really big team, because burnout is a really big issue. And, again, the point of it is really hard. Likewise, if you partner with someone, Rotary clubs do stuff all the time, and particularly if you're in a place that has multiple Rotary clubs, partnering with people, being a part of a day where you are providing, bodies on the ground or, a specific thing. You could cook a barbecue as part of a bigger event. You could do a couple of those a year. But again, it's up to how many members you've got and how engaged they are and the time commitments they have. Michael, what is the best way to give members of the committee a second wind when if their interest in the event starts to diminish? Again, I think it depends on why. If they're just, disengaged with the reason why they're doing the event, potentially they need to step back for a little while and, get excited about the event again. If they're swamped at work or uni or study or life, then, potentially saying, can we get, you and someone else to do your task, or, easing their burden, sometimes for a little while, sometimes for the duration. I guess it depends if the member still wants to be a part of it or is just doing it because, they're expected to do it. Encouragement always works. If you acknowledge that someone's doing a good job, they really respond to that. I think, again, we're all volunteers. We're all doing this because we love it. And, if you've worked your guts out for months and months and months and no one has even said good job, or no one has said, I really love that graphic you made, or, I really love that spreadsheet, or, whatever the case may be, maybe they're looking for some positive reinforcement. And again, having that really nice club culture is really important, because, you want people to participate, you want people to take part in things. And if they keep doing that and they're not getting anything out of it, then it's really hard. You start to question why you are part of it or why you are doing something, because if you don't feel like you're getting anything out of it, that can be really tough. So yeah, I guess having a really good club culture and, checking in with people is important. Claire, the budget is important. Money makes things the world go round. And that's really important. If your budget blows out, you can be a little bit screwed. So having those check-ins and looking at all aspects of the project, from, do you have money coming in? Do you have sponsors? Do you have enough prizes? What are we going to do if we don't have enough prizes? What's our backup? What's our options? Do we need to bring in more people? And, constantly reassessing, not to necessarily question yourself, but to make sure the project is the best it can be, I think is really important. So yeah, hopefully that answers questions. I don't know if there was any others that I missed. Do you have any set of standard event plan documents, or is it more a fluid process? I think it depends on the event. The way you run a Bunnings barbecue is very different to a gala dinner. I think should you be doing a risk assessment? Absolutely. I think for me that has come as part of the insurance process, getting talking to your district insurance officer when you're planning an event and what they require. I think as part of that will be a risk assessment. And if it's not, then certainly doing one as well. And if you are partnering with other organisations, what they expect in terms of insurance stuff and what Rotary expects can also be different. So just being really clear on your obligations is also really necessary. And Emily, I guess to answer your question, I think there are certain things that every event needs, and potentially, if your club doesn't have anything like that, certainly reach out to your district or RA, because I know there are lots of clubs that do. If you want to reach out to your district Rotaract representative, they can certainly bring it to the District Rotaract Council, and we can certainly share documents. I know Ben, as incoming governance officer, is also going to be doing a lot of work in standardising procedures so clubs can have access to basic templates, and then you can obviously alter them to your specific event. But yeah, certainly happy to chat or point you in the right direction to specific ones if you need them. Cool beans. Well, I think we've got 5 minutes till the next session. So I suggest, if there's no more questions, stretching and getting a snack before jumping back into the other session. But thank you so much for listening, guys. And I would love, for you guys to reach out if you need anything, hopefully it's, helpful and beneficial to you, and good luck for next year.
Thank you very much, Laura. I'm sure we all have really appreciated hearing a bit about how we can run events more successfully. If everyone can have a look in the chat box, I've just posted the link to get back to the main meeting room where we'll be having the rest of our sessions for today. Thanks again, Laura.
Thanks, Kim.